All right. So check this out. I have no clue what I'm doing as far as this whole video shit go. But I had a couple of thoughts regarding DSF basketball, and last year, the year before, overall I would say I smashed. I did really good. I was able to construct lineups that was more often than not over the cash line, you know, in GBPs and in cash. Um, Most of it was basically matchup based. I would create a spreadsheet with, each team's DVP and, highlight certain players that I wanted in prime matchups, and based off of those players and obviously the salary, plug my lineup in, make a few tweaks here and there based on injury news, value that opens up, someone starting that's usually not starting, et cetera, et cetera. And, it was simple, simple fix, simple formula to win. This year, this first week or so, I'm not sure what's going on. Seems like it's hit or miss when I'm doing this. I'm not sure if it's just because of the crazy games we've seen from guys like Davis and Westbrook early on, or if it's just that the pricing algorithm hasn't caught up to real life. For example, Gorgie Dean before last night, was tremendously underpriced for what he was doing. Just so many underpriced guys, you know what I mean? Even to this day, Anthony Davis is still underpriced. He's not even 11K on DraftKings. I mean, that's crazy to me, but whatever. Um, or I heard that it could be because of the multi-position eligibility, which kind of makes sense when you look at it. And conceivably, technically, you could play four centers or 4 point guards. If you have one of those guys that's PF/C, you can put them at PF, at C, at utility, and at F. And then you'll have guys, that's point guard and shooting guard, such as George Hill, JJ Barea. Play them at point guard, shooting guard, guard, utility. So conceivably, you can have a lineup with 4 centers, 3 point guards, and a power forward. You can put him in the SF spot, the small forward spot, like Kawhi LeBron, whatever the case, things like that. So that may have something to do with it, because you can create lineups with higher floors and higher upside and not have to dig as far to construct a viable lineup. But all in all, I've been considering this last year after looking at some things, and I'm considering this year. Although it's hard to do it, I'm still considering doing it and trying it. Two things actually. One thing I've noticed, I've been noticing this for years. The couple of years I've been playing daily fantasy primarily on DraftKings. I'll do a lineup for the main slate, whatever. It'll be a decent lineup. Might not even cash. And then I'll, of course, because I'm a degenerate, I'll go ahead and make my late lineup. Boom. More often than not, that late lineup that was plugged in has a way higher floor. Has a way higher score than the main lineup you put in. And it's happened, time and time again. And I always say, wow, if I just put this lineup into the main lineup, then I would be so much better off money wise. So I always tell myself and tell people, yeah, I'm going to try this. However, there's probably some reasons why I'm not. The action. If the slate starts at 7 o'clock, I'm not waiting until 10 o'clock to get my action in. I'm just not that disciplined, personally. Also, just the plays that open up and the plays that we see, throughout the day. A lot of them will be on the early slates or the middle game, the middle hour slates, 8 o'clock, 8:30, whatever the case. So, you want to plug in your lineup based off of that. So I'm going to try to, when I have the time to actually start writing these things down, and I'm going to actually do the experiment. I'm going to have my, cash line or 2 or 3, because I'm a degenerate. I can't make one cash line, although I'm trying to get better at that. And then I'm also going to have my late night lineup that I do. I'm going to write down the score of my main cash lineup, and I'm going to write down the score of my late lineup. I'm going to do it probably for about a month or so, or a set number of games, maybe 15, 20. And I'm going to see how many times would that late lineup have A, cashed in the main slate, or B, outdone my main lineup. I do believe that when you have less games to choose from, you potentially decrease the number of landmines you can step on, if that makes sense. For example, NFL, Mike Wallace, T.Y. Hilton, Spencer Ware, was like one or two more of the ultimate chalk landmines that people stepped on. But those are 5 different games. Let's say, for example, I made my lineup just off of a select 3 games. Those games could have been the Colts game and 2 other games, or whatever the case. I think by limiting your player pool, you may cap your upside, possibly, but I think you eliminate the potential to run into multiple landmines. Granted, you always have a chance to step on a landmine here or there, but if I'm choosing out of 15 basketball players instead of 90 basketball players, my landmines are going to be less. Kind of like Minesweeper. You know, when you make the little bitty grid, little 3x3 grid, might be a landmine in there, might not be. But when you have the big grid that takes up the whole computer screen, you're going to step on a lot of mines. So I'm not sure if it's just because the later games have higher totals also, which is a faster paced game, which increases the cash line of the late lineups or whatever the case. Or if it's just because, we're limiting our selection to a select couple of games. I've noticed that people have stacked, the first game in the tournament just to get that little rush feeling to see the currently winning 5 figures up there that it's not going to last. However, when I go back and look, I can't really see too many times that person was not at least in the top 50 of that GPP, the top 50%, I mean. So by stacking the game, they're not guaranteeing, but they're continuously ending up in the top half of the field. Last time I checked, the top half of the field means you win the monies in the cash games. So it's just something to look at and to think about. And when you think about it from a logistical standpoint, just say on average, every team is going to score 100 points, just on average across the board, whatever. I don't have numbers to back it up. I'm just a lifelong basketball fan, so 100 points per team every night. Let's just say conceivably your starters gets about 75 to 80% of those points of your starting lineups. Not to mention the assists that goes with the points, the 3-point bonuses that goes along with it, the steals, the blocks, the rebounds. So it's conceivable that if you are stacking a game or possibly 2 games, conceivably your floor in general would be higher than if you were to use all of the games in a slate. So what I'm going to do when I do my experiment is I'm going to go to scores and odds, maybe look at the games. I'm going to target the higher total games with the lowest blowout potential, because if I'm taking starters, I don't want a game to be a blowout. I'm not going to take a game with a 14-point spread if I don't think Steph Curry is going to play in the fourth quarter. I mean, granted, in order for them to blow them out, he's probably going to have a really good game for 3 quarters. I don't want him for 3 quarters. I want him for 4, maybe 5 or 6, whatever. So for today, my experiment will be to pick out 4 games. I want to say 3, but like I said, my discipline isn't as strong as probably most of you that's listening. Even though it's probably only like 2 or 3 of you, I'm pretty sure you're more disciplined as an individual and human being as me. So I'm going to do 4 games. I'm going to sift through these games. Right here I see Hawks Wizards, 205.5 total, a 1-point spread, which means it's supposed to be a close game, which has a potential for overtime. But if nothing else, I should have the starters in there until the buzzer. Charlotte, Brooklyn. The only reason I'm going to take this game is because of there's several plays that I've already looked at that I want to take from this game, which is part of the reason why I said 4 and not 3. But Charlotte, Brooklyn, 205 total. Charlotte on the road as 6-point favorites. Big road favorites. It's not easy to win on the road, so Brooklyn might keep this close enough to the end. Pelicans, Suns, 211.5 point total, 3-point spread. New Orleans is favored, which is basically Vegas saying that it's pretty much a pick'em game. So it should be a close enough game where we could potentially get some overtime. But if nothing else, we get the starters in until the buzzer. Okay. And just for whatever's sake, I'm going to say Golden State Lakers, primarily because the total is insane. It's 27.5. The game's in Los Angeles. And even though the spread is 10.5, Warriors are coming from a back-to-back. So back-to-back games are automatically that much harder because it's back-to-back. So there's a probability that the Lakers can at least keep it close enough. Whereas even if the Warriors do cover that 10.5 and win by 11 points, it might not be over, until the last 2 or 3 minutes, which means I've gotten 8, 9, 10 minutes of fourth quarter burn from my starters if I play anybody from this game. But with that total, it's kind of hard to ignore that game because it's just too many shots going up, too many passes, too many possessions to not try to capitalize on at least a piece of that game. The main piece I'm looking at that game. Unfortunately, despite my loathe for Klay Thompson, is Klay Thompson. He's border. He's getting to that point where he's becoming a little bit too cheap to fade in cash because he still gets a certain amount of shots up and he still does stuff. Personally, any game with the high total that Golden State's playing, I'm always open to taking Draymond. I'm probably just not taking him because I'm taking Anthony Davis at power forward. And, probably Lopez, Howard, Plumlee, or Gasol at center and utility. So I'm not really going to have the capital to spend up on Draymond, especially when I'm trying to do what I'm trying to do, which is trying to get Anthony Davis and John Wall in the same lineup with Tim Frazier. So I'm not going to get Draymond. But, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to completely eliminate the Clippers-Grizzlies game. Granted, I know for a fact that there are going to be players in that game that are going to put up a nice game. Utah Jazz, listen. I got a list of certain teams that I just don't take players against or don't take players from. Utah and San Antonio are on that very small list. I don't take players in Heat games, except the rare Hassan Whiteside GPP banger, because he's Hassan Whiteside, he can go off for 70. But Miami Heat, San Antonio, Utah, Memphis is getting there because they're getting back to that slow up and down defensive grinded out style. So, but just certain teams I just don't even bother touching. Whatever, I don't care what kind of value opens up. Like everybody's all over Patty Mills. I don't really give a damn about Patty Mills because even if he does start, he gets the burn. The pace is just not going to be fast enough for me to want to take advantage of that. I would rather spend a little bit more for a guy that I know is going to get 20, 30 more possessions in that game. So whatever the case. So we're doing Golden State Lakers. See, now I want this Dallas game. I'm going to ignore the Dallas game because I'm not taking Damian Lillard anymore. But I'm taking Plumlee. So, a caveat, I don't know if it's a caveat, but an exception to my rule is that if there's an obvious value play or something to that effect that opens up, then of course I'll make that exception. And my other exception is, the guys, like the Westbrooks, the Hardens, the Davises. I'm not going to count them in my exclusion because those guys will always and forever be in play if the situation fits. But Portland, that Portland game, the only player I am considering is Plumlee because he's cheap and I think he can give me what I need to construct my lineup. So I'm not going to take the game, just Plumlee. So Lakers, Warriors, Suns, Pelicans. I want to take Bulls next, but when you limit yourself, you avoid landmines. That's the key. Nets, Hornets, and Washington Hawks. So, I'm gonna just try those games, and see, and just see what it does for me. I'm also going to create my late lineup. Well, I'm not even playing late because it's Jazz, Spurs, and then Lakers, Warriors. I might not even play lineup, but for the purpose of the video, I'm not going to sit here and talk for 12 minutes and then not do what I said I'm going to try to do. I'm going to do my late lineup with those two, whatever games they have in the late slate, possibly the turbo slate also. And then I'm going to copy that lineup and paste it in my main slate and see what it does in comparison to the lineup that I build for the main slate. So, I mean, I know most of you guys make the videos and articles. They're very informative and very, numbers driven and statistic driven, and they're very good articles, and they help people construct lineups and make plays and da 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 da. Like I said, I'm new to the video thing. I'm trying to get to it more. I just don't really have the time. And then when I'm home, I got the girl and the kid, you know what I mean? And it's just about getting my plays in, finding out what to play and playing. So I'm gonna try to, do some more videos, some podcasts, get on some podcasts with some guys. And if none of y'all want to do a podcast with me, that's okay. You wanna know why? It only takes one person to YouTube. So, yeah, I'm gonna try these videos more often. And the purpose of these videos is more such, not necessarily to give plays. I mean, I don't mind, helping, to see to show you guys where my thought process is going, but to expand your thinking, expand your box. It's okay to think inside of the box. It's just a matter of how wide your box is. So I'm going to try to expand your box so that if you are thinking inside of the box, that's fine, but it still expands your thought. Because if you honestly sit down and think about it, how many times have you made a late lineup that would have cashed in the main slate? It might not be something that you paid attention to, but start paying attention to it if you are somebody that plays multiple slates. Because it is a thing. Especially with the fact that now we don't have the late swap option anymore. It is a thing. That same late slate lineup that would not have cashed in your late slate would have probably easily taken down a majority of your cash lineups in the main slate. So just a little something to think about. Think about it. Talk to me, message me, email me, whatever the case is. Let me know if you try it. Let me know what you found out. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to try to write down, the scores from my late lineup and my main lineup, and just compare them over the course of however long, and see, and just see what kind of results I'm getting, because I'm sick and tired of seeing my late slate lineups cranking. However, most of my money is invested in the early slate, and I'm stepping on landmines such as Rudy Gay, Vucevic, and Gorgie Jean, and not cashing. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm just gonna try to do. Either limit games that I'm having exposure to, or just run my late lineup in my main slate. And I obviously have a main slate lineup because I'm not gonna sit for 3.5 hours without action. That's just not what I can do. So that's gonna be that, man. Hope you liked the video. Hope I get like at least 15 views from y'all. I mean, it's not a long video. If y'all can sit for an hour for the good people's videos with the good information and the good numbers, then maybe you'll sit for at least 15 minutes, 10 minutes. You can watch the video for 5 minutes and at least get some outside the box thinking to possibly expand the box that you may be thinking in. In my next video, I will talk about focusing on more balanced lineups, despite the fact that value opens up and despite the fact that studs are studs. That will be the topic of my next video, because I've found some good things, and when you sit down and think about it, there's some good things that can come from that.